Welcome to the channel, welcome to today's run through of all the latest Manchester United news and transfer updates, keeping you right up to date with everything. I'm Jamie, let's get into it. So, we spent most of the last 12 months talking about the midfield. We're going to go through all the latest names there, the latest on Kone and the latest on Alex Scott and so on, a few other names linked as well. But the other problem that United have to try to resolve for me this transfer window is the left-hand side of the pitch. Now, a lot of that is going to boil down to two things, either where the club see or where Michael Carrick and the club see Patrick Dorgu and his position on the pitch, but also Marcus Rashford. That's a situation that is starting to now brew, with England obviously being knocked out of the World Cup. There's a developing situation there, which is already potentially going to cost us a transfer down that side of the pitch. So I want to lead with the Rashford situation. So firstly, Steve Ralston from the Manchester Evening News said that Man United have held positive talks with Marcus Rashford's camp and are fine with him returning for pre-season. He could return to the club on the 10th of August. And this is a situation that we've known about for a while, with all the reports from Romano and so on, suggesting that actually, we've had talks. He's had talks with the club. He's open to coming back to pre-season training. We know we can't do, a bomb squad. We're not allowed to, not allow him to train and be part of the first team squad. I think FIFA or UEFA changed their rules, so we can't do that anymore. So there's going to be a situation already where Marcus Rashford is going to have to come back and be part of the pre-season tour, unless something happens while he's on his holiday now. Because I think players will have like a 3-week break once they're eliminated from the World Cup. So he's clearly going to be on his holidays after tomorrow's third place finish, one of the most pointless games of football I think imaginable. But and then after that, so unless something happens within that period of time, we'll just have to wait and see. But the reality is he's a contracted player of ours. We have to look at a future where he does stay at the club, and that's part of the what could potentially happen with Marcus Rashford. But the Manchester Evening News saying positive talks, open to returning for pre-season. Now, David Ornstein has said that Marcus Rashford's £40 million exit clause for all bar Liverpool and Man City ended on the 15th of July. Any Man United sale must now be negotiated. Returns to training after the break and approaches will be considered for the 28-year-old who's already rejected more lucrative options. Otherwise, he stays. So the £40 million release clause that was available, not for Liverpool or Man City, not that I think they would ever be interested or come in for Marcus Rashford, is now expired. So any club that wants to negotiate now for Rashford, we've got to negotiate the price with the club, and that could be good for us where we might get a little bit more, could be bad for us where we're going to get less. And I think that would obviously depend on, one, how desperate we are to sell, but also there's going to have to be something with the salary as well, because Marcus Rashford is one of the best paid players in the Premier League, and not all clubs are going to be willing to want to pay those sort of wages. So there's going to have to be a compromise, whether United compromise by lowering the asking price to allow clubs to offer Rashford a bit more in wages. That could be a situation, or whether we try to get more and Rashford has to sacrifice by taking a pay cut to go somewhere else, which we know he's prepared to do to go to Barca. So there's nothing to suggest he wouldn't be happy to do that, to go somewhere else. It just depends on obviously what happens and how the situation sort of develops. Interesting, though, that David Ornstein was saying these rejected more lucrative options, because in my mind, I'm thinking, well, the Turkish and the Saudi Pro League are probably the two leagues in the world that can offer sort of significant salaries like that. There was a story from a Turkish media outlet, though, suggesting that Fenerbahce made an official approach and, they were looking to come in for Marcus Rashford, but that was quickly debunked by Fabrizio Romano, saying no, Marcus Rashford not interested at this stage of his career going to either Turkey and potentially the Saudi Pro League as well, because they're the only two clubs or two leagues that I can see where they would offer Marcus Rashford more, because he's believed to be on around £300,000 a week plus at United in terms of salaries. But Romano suggesting that he's not got any interest in going to those sort of leagues, which leaves us in a bit of a situation where, what do we do with the Marcus Rashford situation? Interestingly, Romano did say, though, that Carrick, from my understanding, is looking forward to working with Marcus Rashford. He wants to be with Rashford in pre-season to see the attitude, see the feelings, and then decide whether he's going to stay or leave the club in August. So there is this sort of developing situation now. It's getting closer. Obviously, England have got one more game tomorrow, and then holiday, maybe we'll see some movement and around there as well. But I think, reading between the lines, going off of the reports, that United still want to sell Rashford, and part of me still believes that this is just the Jadon Sancho situation where we're welcoming a player back, we're preparing for him to come back, we're putting it all out there that we want to keep him and he's happy to stay, and all of this jazz as a way to not weaken our negotiations when we're trying to negotiate with other clubs, especially if that £40 million release clause is gone. We might actually be able to get a little bit more. We may end up getting less. We just don't know. So I still think there is an appetite from the club to remove Marcus Rashford. But the reality is, if we don't get a buyer, or Marcus Rashford doesn't, agree to go to any other club, he's our player, and we're going to have to introduce him back into the squad, which leaves us in a massive situation, because we obviously want to strengthen that left-hand side. There's been loads of reports around a winger, and a player in particular is Summerville, where we could potentially start losing out on those deals, and Summerville is one of those. Roma are pushing hard to sign Crescencio Summerville and hope to complete the deal by early next week. And the major update this morning is that an agreement with the player is now very close. Summerville is given his full approval to the move, open to the Roma project, and personal terms are almost finalised. This is a key breakthrough, as several other Premier League clubs have also been interested in him as a winger. Obviously, we know that he's been the main name, I would suggest, for the left-hand side of the pitch. If he were to go for a winger, would have been Summerville. Roma have accelerated talks and will now present an official offer to West Ham with a proposed bid in the region of €40 million plus €5 million in bonuses. Now that's coming from Matteo Moretto. So the Rashford situation is potentially already going to cost us one of our potential signings that we were going to be looking to bring in there in Summerville, because it was David Ornstein that actually, first linked us with interest in Crescencio Summerville. So this situation is one where, we could potentially lose out, because it's quite advanced with him going to Roma, and whether we were genuinely interested or not, we know we've made inquiries, but whether we were going to follow through on that, we just don't know, especially with the United's transfer activity. Who knows what's going on, because they are being, they're not leaking anything out. We're not getting the sort of stories that we have done in the past, which I actually like, because we had a lot of surprise moves. Like Santos came out of nowhere. Tielemans was definitely absolutely out of nowhere as well. No links or anything with those deals. And I actually like that, because I've been a little bit giddy with those signings, because, for so long, all the transfers have been leaked out, and then it drags on for weeks and weeks and weeks, and it almost takes the excitement away from those transfer signings. Whereas with Tielemans and Santos, because they came out of the blue and they were done so fast as well, it gives you that little bit of excitement, doesn't it, in the transfer market, because we want to bring in players, we want to improve the squad, and we want to improve going forward. But Summerville potentially going to Roma, going to miss out on a signing, because we have to resolve that Rashford situation. And at the moment, there is just nothing happening with Rashford. There's no links with any other clubs. Like I mentioned there's one, garbage one from a garbage source in Turkey, which clearly not true. Rashford doesn't want to go to those sort of leagues. He still wants to play in a top European league by all accounts. And then we've got the situation with his wages. United want to remove those wages and sell Marcus Rashford. But is he willing to take a pay cut? It's a messy situation. Hopefully there'll be a resolution though once England finish their final game tomorrow, and then we hear a little bit more over the next few weeks while he's on holiday, because I still believe there's a situation where we're going to sell Rashford. I think Ben Jacobs yesterday was saying, or the other day was saying, that this it could happen at any time though. United are not in a necessarily a rush to sell Rashford. It could be that Barcelona wait till the end of the transfer window and come in with another bullshit loan that we have to agree to. But it's also starting to now have an impact on other transfer targets, with Summerville potentially going to Roma. On that one though, United are either going to have to move fast or we're going to miss out. But yeah, get involved in the comments. Let me know what you think. What would you do with the Rashford situation? Because we have to accept as fans, there is a world where he does come back and he doesn't get sold this summer. And that's the reality of the situation, which I'm uncomfortable with, I've got to be honest. And not necessarily because I think Rashford's a bad player. I think he's a good player, and have as a bench option and a rotation option, Champions League experience and all of that stuff. He's actually a really good player, to have around for those situations. I can't be done with the drama around it. I genuinely can't be done with every press conference, Marcus Rashford this, Marcus Rashford that, because that's what it's going to be. If he's not part of the first team, or if he's on the bench and being rotated, it's going to be every week. That's just the same as we had last season with Ruben Amorim and Kobbie Mainoo. Mainoo this, Mainoo that, Mainoo this. And it just absolutely exhausted me talking about it and listening to it as well. And I think that would be exactly the same with Marcus Rashford. And I don't think, with everything that's happened in the past as well, I genuinely would play Cunha or Dorgu in front of him, because we've got to move forward. This for me would just be a big step backwards. So hopefully there is a resolution where all parties involved, Rashford's happy with the club to move to another club, United get some money in, and we just part ways, because I just feel that I just can't be done with that sort of drama. And I can see it being that if Rashford is around, and then you're going to have, fans not happy with the situation, you're going to have fans happy with the situation as well. And it's just going to cause unnecessary drama right at a time where we seem to have resolved all of that. Like the leaks behind the scenes and the attitude and the dressing room seems to be quite settled and quite, like quite chilled. And especially with Michael Carrick coming in, because he's comes across as very relaxed anyway. I'm sure he's different in private, but I just can't be done with it. I genuinely can't be done with all of that. So I just hope there is a resolution to the situation where Rashford leaves, and we can all move on then with our lives. But it could come back. He could. That's part of one of the options as well. So we'll have to pay attention to it. But yeah, get involved in the comments. Give us your thoughts and your feelings regarding that situation. Now, outside of the left-hand side, one of the other areas, I know some of you in the comments have, on previous videos, have been mentioned about the striker situation. Apparently, Sesko's still carrying a little bit of an injury from the end of last season that ruled him out. So hopefully there's nothing too serious there. It's not believed to be too mega, but it's because I've not seen any videos or anything of him in and amongst the group for pre-season as part of the training videos. Correct me if I'm wrong on that one, but apparently he's still carrying a little bit of a knock. We've got the Joshua Zirkzee situation to try and resolve as well. So I would like United to go for a backup striker. And I really like the idea of going for someone like Jean-Philippe Mateta. I think he would tick a lot of the boxes of what we've been looking for. Experience, Premier League proven, good goal scorer, can rotate, has got a really good skill set as that sort of target man striker as well. I really, really like the idea of going for someone like Mateta. So Man United, Juventus and Atletico Madrid are all interested in Jean-Philippe Mateta. Crystal Palace are open to selling him and value the striker at £25 million. Talks are expected to intensify in the coming weeks. Now, that came from Rudy Galletti. Rudy Galletti's very hit and miss, so definitely one that we do need to take with a pinch of salt. But I really like the idea of this. I hope this is one of his hits where there is some truth in this, because for £25 million to get an experienced Premier League proven player that's actually good as well, that can score a goal and has some good attributes that I think would help the team and all of that stuff, I would be all over that personally. That would be, I'd really, really rate Mateta, and I think he would be that sort of the box ticker for what we would be looking for. Not necessarily gonna bend Sesko's nose out of joint and be a direct rival or replacement, but someone that can rotate around and play some games and score some goals as well. Like, I really like that, and for 25 million quid for that, I would be all over that personally. But I'm sure you're going to have different views, and I'm sure you're going to share them in the comments down below. We will need to wait and see a little bit more credibility, though. As I mentioned, Rudy Galletti hit and miss, so we'll wait to see if this one is one that develops. But I would like to see us make a move for that backup striker. And again, this might be one of those situations though where we have to wait for what happens with Zirkzee. And at the moment, there's nothing on Zirkzee either. So a lot of the exit news is quiet. There's not really anyone linked at the moment with potentially an exit from anyone of any credibility. So whether or not that will develop later on in the window, because Roma are actually a club that were heavily linked with Joshua Zirkzee, whether we can do some sort of shenanigans with the Manu Kone situation and Zirkzee, who knows? But yeah, we shall keep an eye on that. But I do like the idea of going for Mateta as a backup striker for that price and for his experience and everything like that as well. Yeah, that's one I'm going to pay attention to and see how it develops. Now on the midfield, let's go for the latest there. Let's go through the Kone stuff. So a bit of a report coming out from an Italian news outlet saying that Manu Kone is increasingly likely to move to the Premier League, with the midfielder preferring a switch to England over any other destination. Roma are looking to capitalise on his rising valuation following the World Cup. Atletico Madrid made the first offer, but Kone turned it down. Man United are interested, having already spoken to his agents, while Aston Villa also made several inquiries. Now, I don't think Aston Villa are going to be going for Manu Kone. By all accounts, they're linked with Paulinho, and they've just got João Gomez as well. A little bit gutted about that, but then saying that I really, really like the signing of Yuri Tillemans, but Romano was saying the other day we were never in for João Gomez. So he was a player that was on our list beforehand, but we've never made a move and apparently never really interested in João Gomez. But yeah, Gomez has gone to Villa for around £38 million as the sort of Tillemans replacement, obviously with us going for Yuri Tillemans. So I can't see Villa going in for Manu Kone. Chelsea are another team though that are linked with heavily with Manu Kone, amongst others. So so United might need to move a little bit quick to try and get that sort of the Kone deal if he is going to be that third midfielder that we are looking for. Romano said that Man United are actively strengthening their midfield, but are not done yet. We've signed Santos and Yuri Tillemans, and we're showing a faster, more decisive approach with deals this summer compared to previous windows. Edison's completely off the table with no chance of revival. There was the deal sheet the other day, or some people from the Athletic suggesting that maybe we would go back in for Edison, but that always felt like a bit of a stretch, and Romano saying no, definitely off. With Edison, United are now targeting a defensive midfielder with Manu Kone, one name on their shortlist. They've had a positive phone contact with his agent and maintain an excellent relationship, though no formal bid or approach to Roma has been made yet. Reports of £80 to £90 million prices are exaggerated. That actually came from Jamie Jackson, which was misaggregated, by the way. So in his report in The Guardian, Jamie Jackson put it out there that some of the midfielders' names that we're linked with are going to cost between £60 to £80 million, but it was aggregated as £80 million, and that's what I think Romano is referring to on there. United are taking the time to evaluate options with their recent quick signings, and maybe that's why we are seeing a little bit of a lull in battle, I would say, after what's happened over the last week with all the surprise signing of Tillemans, the speed in which we got Santos done and Carl Darlow through the door as well. And we've done another sneaky midfield signing as well in Christian Orozco. That's been done, but just not announced, which is, surprising from the club. Maybe they're wanting to keep him out of the spotlight and take the pressure off of him with him being a new signing and, a young lad coming to England and all of that stuff. But Steve Ralston in the Manchester Evening News suggesting that Orozco's transfer was completed on Monday when he celebrated his 18th birthday. He's joined the academy group, which means he could make his debut tomorrow afternoon. So he could be in line to make his debut technically today, because that came out yesterday from Steve Ralston in the Manchester Evening News. So United are doing things on the sly and on the QT and not announcing it anywhere. But yes, I'm surprised they didn't do an announcement for Orozco. Maybe we'll get one, or maybe they just want to keep him totally out of sight, out of mind, not put any pressure on the kid, and just let him come in, settle in, and go about his sort of business as well. So that's an interesting one. As well. Now, one of the other names that we're heavily linked with is Alex Scott. So Alex Scott remains at the top of Manchester United's list for the third midfield signing, but Bournemouth's stance has not changed, at least for now. They are insisting he is not for sale. So this could be why there's a little bit of a pause as well, because if we are looking to go for, Alex Scott, who does feel like, there's more links and more rumours, and this has been one that's been, going on for weeks, isn't it? The Alex Scott situation. Then we're just going to have to wait and see what happens regarding Bournemouth, because there's no update on him signing a new deal at Bournemouth. Whether that'll change, I don't know if he's still on holiday, or I don't know whether he's back in training now with Bournemouth. Maybe we'll get something from that once he is actually back in training. Let me know in the comments if you know if he's back in training or if he's still taking a break, because he did get initially called up for England, didn't he, in the sort of pre-squad and the friendlies before the World Cup. So I don't know whether he's still taking a bit more time off, or whether he's back in training with Bournemouth. But we've not really heard anything about the new contract, and that could be the deciding factor, because if he does come back and say, look, nah, definitely not signing a new contract, want to go, that could then force Bournemouth to look to be more open to selling him. Whereas at the moment, they're there's a chance he could sign a new contract there. But Alex Scott does seem like one of the names, and maybe this is one where we have to wait and see what happens. But the longer we wait, we could then miss out on other targets like Manu Kone. So there's again decision making to be made at United, like there always is and always has been this transfer window. Not just on Marcus Rashford, or are we going to make a late move for Crescencio Summerville? Who knows? I wouldn't put anything past United at this particular moment in time, with the way the club are operating in terms of doing their deals in secret and not announcing things, and actually being quite quick at getting deals done. Or Could we be waiting to see? So is it a similar situation with the midfield? We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, give us your thoughts and feelings on that in the comments down below. Now, in terms of other names, Graham Bailey said that Man United are once again discussing Fulham's midfielder Sander Berge internally as they continue refining their midfield shortlist. With Team Talk understands the Norway international is emerging as a serious option for Michael Carrick's squad. And I think this got a little bit blown out of proportion, to be fair, because Graham Bailey is someone, as you know, if you're a long-term subscriber, hit and miss, do need to take with a pinch of salt. But Sander Berge is on the list. We've had The Athletic and Laurie Whitwell, people like that, all suggest that Sander Berge could be an option for us, but I don't know. We don't know. That's the reality. We don't know what United are doing at this particular moment in time. So it could be Sander Berge, could be Alex Scott, could be Manu Kone, could be Camavinga, could be someone completely random like this, like Raskin. So Man United have added Rangers midfielder Nicholas Raskin to their shortlist after his impressive World Cup displays, with the Scottish club now expected to demand around 30 million euros after rejecting a 14 million pound bid from Hull. Now that's come out from, I think it actually was aggregated in the Record, who are a news outlet from Scotland. However, came from, I think it was a Belgian news outlet. I have no idea the credibility around it, but that would be a complete shock to go for somebody like Raskin as the third midfielder, and I can't see that. The main reports are they want someone a little bit more experienced to come in to add to Tielemans and Santos. But with Tielemans coming in, Tielemans does have that experience, a very experienced player. So but yeah, I'd want to see way more credibility when where this particular story came from. Personally, this feels like one linking with Man United. He's had a good World Cup, put his name in the spotlight to try and get more money and more clubs coming in and generating interest. That's how it felt to me when I initially heard this story. But who knows with United? It could be possible. So I would never say never at this particular moment in time. Yeah, give us your thoughts on that in the comments down below. Now, there was an interesting story the other day regarding Mazraoui and a link with AC Milan and linking up with Ruben Amorim. Came from Matteo Moretto. Brought that to you a couple of days ago. Now, there's also been an interesting story, though, coming from Build, linking us with a move for Ryerson. So putting two and two together, could there be a situation developing where Mazraoui leaves to go to AC Milan and United look to bring in Ryerson? I'd want to see way more credibility than where the story's coming from. But Builder, a big German news outlet, saying that United have reportedly held initial talks with the representatives of Borussia Dortmund fullback Julian Ryerson. According to Bild, the versatile Norway international is coming off an outstanding domestic campaign where he racked up an impressive 15 assists for Dortmund before carrying that stellar form into the summer's World Cup. With his ability to threaten in the final third while operating comfortably on either flank, Ryerson has emerged as a highly attractive target for Michael Carrick, who is keen to inject more dynamic attacking quality into United's defensive line. Now, I don't know how I would feel about that, because Mazraoui is a quality player. I really, really like Mazraoui, but his offensive output is terrible. He's got 0 goals, 0 assists, doesn't really impact the team too much in the final third, whereas someone like, so if you want someone more attacking that can do that, then Ryerson is an upgrade in that particular area. But Mazraoui's quality on the ball, press resistant, got good leadership qualities, good defender, and I'm not sure whether Ryerson is necessarily that. So I don't know how I would feel about doing that. And again, it's a little bit fantasy at the moment, because we just don't know whether there's any truth in these stories, and it's going to be a few weeks for that to develop anyway, with both players being on their holidays and stuff now. But give us your thoughts and feelings. A good talking point, isn't it? Would you sell Mazraoui to AC Milan if it meant bringing in Ryerson? And yeah, get involved in the comments. Give us your thoughts and feelings regarding that, and give us your thoughts and feelings on all the other topics discussed in today's video. That's you all up to date with the latest news and transfer updates. Don't forget to smash that like button on your way out, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one.